Some mornings, well, they just hit a little different. Like today, I was sitting out here on the porch, same wooden chair I've had for decades now. You can hear it creak if you lean back too far. The sun was barely peeking over the trees, and that warm Texas breeze carried this faint whiff of engine oil, old motor oil, mixed with a touch of leather, maybe even a hint of fresh-cut grass from down the road. Funny thing, smell can take you places quicker than any photograph. And just like that, I was back to a night that changed everything for me. Reckon I should tell y'all, name's James Harper. Folks around Fort Worth mostly know me as Jimmy. I've been running a small auto shop most of my life, Harper's Auto and Body down on Main. Nothing fancy, just honest work, tinning wrenches, sharing stories with customers, real salt of the earth kind of folks. Build a good life from it too, or so I thought. Till one night, well, that's what I'm here to talk about. Ain't it funny how the mind works? Been more than 15 years since that night. Kids grown, grandbabies running round now. But some stories, some moments, they don't fade with time. No, sir. They sit in your chest like a well-worn stone, and every now and again, you feel the weight of it. I suppose that's why I can't shake it this morning. Now, for I get too deep into it. If y'all are sitting here listening, maybe sipping coffee like me, well, don't be shy. If this tale stirs something in ya, go on and tap that like button, or drop me a line in the comments down yonder. Helps an old-timer like me know someone's out there listening. And if you're new here, reckon you might want to subscribe. Got plenty more stories where this one came from. Anyhow, where was I? Oh yeah, that night. I still remember the way the phone rang. You know, that old ring, not like the ones nowadays, a loud, stubborn clatter that could jolt a man clean out of his chair. It was late, real late. I was sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out everywhere, mortgage documents, business loans, bank letters, and a contract. One contract that, looking back, I'd give anything to tear right up. But at the time, well, I thought I was making the deal of my life. See, that's what's been gnawing at me all these years. Not the loss, no, money comes and goes. It's that moment, that choice. One signature, one handshake, and by sunrise, everything I'd spent a lifetime building, 2 homes, my shop, my pride, was gone. Swept away like dust in the wind. Why am I telling this now? Guess it's 'cause I've been thinking on what really matters. We chase so much in this life, bigger house, newer truck, fatter wallet. But when it all crumbles, you find out mighty quick what you can't live without. And sometimes, losing everything, well, it's the only way to figure out what truly counts. So pull up a chair. Let me take you back to that night and the lessons I learned, hard as they were, might just save you a world of hurt down the road. You know, sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still smell Mama's cornbread bikini in that little kitchen of ours. Hot summers down in Fort Worth, no air conditioning back then, just the sound of cicadas humming through the screen door and the old box fan rattling in the window. I must have been, about 7 or 8. Daddy worked long hours at the mill, came home with hands rough as sandpaper, but always had a smile and a story for me. That was life back then. Simple, honest. World moved slower. Folks had time for one another. You'd wave to neighbors on the street, and they'd wave right back. None of this hurrying past with your face buried in a phone. I guess you could say I grew up with grease under my fingernails. Daddy wasn't no mechanic, but he could fix near anything, lawnmowers, tractors, old Fords and Chevys. I'd watch him work out in the shed, tools laying all about, that smell o' oil and metal thick in the air. I'd hand him wrenches, hold the flashlight, ask questions till he'd chuckle and say, "Boy, you got a mouth on ya." By the time I hit my teens, it was clear what I loved most: machines. The way an engine purr when you got her just right, that was music to me. And I dreamed big, let me tell ya. Thought maybe one day I'd own my own shop, have my name up on a sign. Back then, well, I figured hard work and a good heart was all you needed. I truly believed that. I believed people were honest, that a handshake still meant something. And that, well, that if you treated folks right, they'd always treat you the same. I carried those notions with me as I got older. Met my sweet Linda in high school, prettiest gal I ever laid eyes on. Married her young, just 20. Started tinning wrenches at a buddy's garage not long after. Saved every dime we could. We didn't have much, but we were happy. One-bedroom apartment, hand-me-down couch, second-hand dishes. But love filled those walls. And dreams, big OL dreams of a life we build together. I'd sit out on the stoop at night, sometimes, staring up at that Texas sky so wide and full of promise. Thinking about the shop I'd have one day. Maybe a little two-bay place with big roll-up doors and my name out front, Harper's Auto and Body. Folks would come from all over town, not 'cause I was the cheapest, but 'cause they knew they'd get treated fair. That mattered to me, still does. I'll tell ya, back then, I didn't know nothing about loans or banks or partnerships. Money? Heck, we were scrimping just to keep gas in the OL truck. But dreams were free, and I held on to 'em tight. Believed with all my heart that if I worked hard enough, if I treated folks right, well, life'd take care of us. Looking back now, there was a kind of innocence to it. I thought the world was simple, that kindness was the coin that bought you good fortune, that trust in folks was the way to go. And maybe, for a time, that was true. Maybe. But life's got a way of teaching you lessons. Some come gentle, others hit like a freight train. And what happened years later? Well, that lesson came hard. And fast. I reckon, life's kind of funny that way. You go along, day in, day out, thinking you know the road ahead, working hard, taking care of your family, mending your own. And then, just like that, one moment, one person can come along and shift the whole course of things. Like a gust o' wind catching the sails of a boat. That's exactly what happened to me. I remember it plain as day. I was about 52 at the time. Shop was doing all right. Harper's Auto and Body had a steady stream of folks coming in. I finally had that two-bay garage I dreamed of as a young buck. Sign out front, tools humming inside. Linda was still working part-time at the library, and both kids were off in college. Lord, how proud we were of him. Life was good, comfortable. I wasn't looking for change. Didn't feel like I needed any. Then one hot July afternoon, in walks this fella, slick suit, big smile, one of them smooth-talking types you don't see much in our part o' town. Name was Russ Clayton. Said he'd heard about my shop from some folks over in Dallas. Talked real big about opportunity, about expanding the business, taking it to the next level. Said there was land opening up not far from the freeway, prime spot for a larger operation. You got the reputation, Jimmy, he told me, flashing that grin. What you need's a partner with vision and a little capital. I tell ya, something in me stirred. Can't rightly say what. Maybe it was pride. Maybe the thought of giving my kids a legacy, something bigger than just a little garage. Or maybe it was that old dream still humming in my heart, the one from nights sitting on the stoop staring at the stars. I remember sitting there that night at the kitchen table, papers spread out again, just like years before. Only this time, bigger numbers, bigger risks. Linda looked at me with those soft brown eyes o' hers and said, "You sure about this, hon?" And I wasn't. Not fully. But there was this pull, deep in my gut. I couldn't quite explain it, why my heart was beating faster, why my hands were trembling a bit. I got a feeling about this one, I told her. And looking back, that should have been my first clue. Anytime you gotta tell yourself that, best slow down and think it through. But Russ, well, he knew how to paint a picture. Talked about profits, expansion, franchise, and even said he'd handle the business side, bring in investors. I'd just do what I do best, run the shop. You see, back then, I still believed real hard in folks. Believed if a man looked you in the eye, shook your hand firm, that meant something. That's how I was raised. And Russ, he knew that too. Played it like a fiddle. Now, why was it so important? Well, this wasn't just about the shop. It was about everything tied to it. My two properties, homes I'd worked near 20 years to own, the shop itself, my life's work. Russ convinced me to leverage it all, to take a big leap. And I jumped. Couldn't explain why, but something in me was restless. Maybe I thought this was my chance. My one shot to turn all those years of work into something bigger. And that was the moment. The moment when it all began to change. At first, well, everything seemed fine. Russ and I signed the papers, shook hands, firm, like men ought to. The bank cut the checks, and before I knew it, we were breaking ground on that new spot by the freeway. Bigger shop, more bays, shiny new equipment, the kind of place you'd see in them car magazines. I was proud. Felt like I was finally building something grand, something my kids could point to and say, "That's my daddy's shop." But you know, dreams don't always unfold the way you pictured them. Took less than a few months for the cracks started showing. Paperwork got delayed, materials cost more than Russ said they would. Investors he'd promised, well, they were nowhere to be found. And that bank loan, with my homes and shop tied to it, those payments came due like clockwork. I started staying late at the old shop, trying to make ends meet. I'd crawl into bed long after Linda had gone to sleep. Some nights, I'd just sit out on the porch with a cold drink, staring into the dark, stomach twisting in knots. I didn't say much, not to the guys at the shop, not even to Linda. Truth be told, I was scared, more scared than I'd ever been. But I didn't know how to show it. A man's supposed to be strong, right? Supposed to protect his family. And there I was, dragging us straight into a hole. Linda, bless her heart, she sighed, knew something was eating at me. One night, she sat beside me on the porch, took my hand and said, "Jimmy, if this ain't right, we can walk away. We'll figure it out." But pride. Lord, that pride. It's a heavy thing. I didn't want to admit I'd made a mistake. Couldn't bear the thought of letting her down, letting my kids down. And then came the real blow. One morning, I got a letter from the bank. The construction had stalled, permits tied up, that's pilling high. Russ, nowhere to be found, wouldn't return my calls, wouldn't answer my letters, just vanished like a ghost in the wind. And the bank, they weren't waiting. Terms were clear. If we defaulted, they'd take it all. I can't begin to tell you the feeling in my chest when I read that letter. Like someone had dropped a cinder block right on my heart. Anger, shame, fear, all of it rolled together. I'd spent my whole life building for my family, and now one bad choice, one man's sweet talk, and it was all slipping through my fingers. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in the kitchen, staring at those papers, fists clenched. The worst part, looking Linda in the eye, telling her what I'd done, and still she didn't raise her voice, didn't blame me, just wrapped her arms round me and whispered, "We'll face this together." But inside, Lord, inside, I was at war with myself. I kept thinking, how could I be so foolish? What kind of man puts his family at risk like this? The shame was a weight I couldn't shake. I couldn't face the neighbors, couldn't look my buddies at the shop in the eye. The town talks, you know. Word gets around. And I knew, before long, everyone would know I'd gambled it all and lost. That was the start of it, the fall. The days ahead would get darker still. I still remember that night like it was yesterday. The kind of night where the world just stops. Like time itself held its breath. I was sitting in that old kitchen, papers spread all over the table, the only light coming from the flicker of the lamp overhead. My hands were shakier than I ever knew they could be. That's when the call came in. The bank was talking everything. Everything. The 2 houses in town, my beloved shop, all gone by morning. Just like that. I swear, I could hear the sound of my own heart pounding in the silence. Like a drum beating, a march to a place I never wanted to go. I sat there, numb. It was like the ground had given way under my feet, leaving me stranded in a pit of cold, dark emptiness. The life I'd built, my pride, my work, my family's future, all wiped clean in the blink of an eye. And there was Russ, that smooth-talking man who vanished without a trace, leaving me holding the bag, alone in the storm. I remember looking up at Linda, her eyes glistening with tears, but holding back the storm. She was strong for us, even when the world was falling apart. But me, I was broken. I felt like a failure, a man who'd lost not just possessions, but his very self. For a long time, I couldn't find my voice, couldn't find the courage to say the words out loud. I lost everything. That night, I realized something I hadn't known before: how fragile dreams can be, how easily they can slip through your fingers when trust is misplaced. It was a lesson carved deep in my soul, one that shook me to my core. But in that silence, something else stirred, a quiet voice inside, whispering that life ain't over just 'cause the world's turned upside down, that even when you lose the things you thought defined you, there's still something left to hold on to. Family, love, hope. I won't lie, it took time, longer than I cared to admit. But that night, that broken, heart-wrenching night, it was the turning point. The moment where a man either falls apart or finds the strength to rise again. I chose to rise. After that night, things weren't the same. Not by a long shot. You lose your home, your shop, the roof over your head, and suddenly the world feels colder, quieter, like it stopped inviting you to the dance. I reckon the hardest part wasn't just the stuff I lost, but the way I lost a piece of myself along with it. For a long time, I felt empty, like a hollow shell of the man I once was. Linda and the kids, they stuck by me. God bless them. But even with their love surrounding me, I'd find myself sitting alone on that porch some evenings, watching the sunset and wondering who I'd become. The dreams I once held so tight felt like distant stars, so far away I couldn't even reach for them no more. I started questioning everything: my faith in people, in myself, in the future. It was hard to trust again when the man you trusted most disappeared in the night with your livelihood. Hard to believe that the good old values I grew up with still mattered in a world that seemed so quick to swallow you whole. I'd walk through town, past my old shop, now empty and quiet, and it hit me: this place, these streets, they held my memories, my sweat, my hopes. But now they felt like reminders of what I'd lost. I tried to keep busy, picking up odd jobs here and there, but it wasn't the same. My hands ached for the tools, the grease, the hum of engines. It was like part of my soul was missing. There were days I thought about giving up, just settling into a quiet life, letting the past be. But then I'd see Linda's steady gaze, or hear the laughter of the grandkids, and something inside me would stir. A flicker of that old fire, reminding me that while I'd lost much, I still had what mattered most: family, love, and the chance to start again. I learned that loss isn't just about what's taken from you. It's about what you choose to carry forward. And even in that silence, in that quiet aftermath, I found space to breathe, to heal, to listen to the whispers of hope beneath the sorrow. Life had changed me, made me slower to trust, maybe, but wiser too. And as hard as it was, I began to understand, sometimes you need to lose everything to see what truly counts. You know, sometimes life's got a funny way of sneaking up on you with a second chance when you least expect it. For a good long spell after everything fell apart, I just drifted. Days blurred into nights, and I wasn't sure I had much left to hold onto besides memories and the love of my family. But then, one afternoon, something changed. It wasn't a grand event or some lightning strike moment, just a quiet knock at the door. It was old Tommy Jenkins, a fella I'd known since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. He'd heard about my troubles and wanted to lend a hand. Not with money, no. Tommy was more the kind of man who believed in small deeds. He asked if I could help him with his pickup truck that had been giving him trouble for weeks. I figured, why not? It had been a while since I got my hands dirty, and maybe, just maybe, this was the first step back. So there I was in Tommy's dusty driveway, tools spread out, the smell of motor oil mixing with the Texas heat. And as I worked, I felt something stir inside me, that old spark, faint but alive. Tommy talked about his grandkids, the small joys in life, the simple things that make a man grateful. His words weren't fancy, but they carried a wisdom that resonated deep. That day, I realized maybe this wasn't the end of my story. Maybe it was just a bend in the road, one that called for slow, steady steps instead of leaps. I started thinking about what I still had: my hands, my head, my heart, and the people who loved me. That was a start. I didn't jump right back into business. No, I took it slow, helping neighbors with small fixes, listening to their stories, rebuilding trust one handshake at a time. And with every nut I tightened, every engine I coaxed back to life, I felt my confidence growing, just a little more. Linda noticed the change, too. She smiled more, teased me about getting my grease-stained hands back, and the kids saw their old man not just as a story of loss, but as a man finding his way again. That gave me strength. It wasn't easy, and I won't pretend it was. Fear still lurked in the corners, and the weight of the past tried to pull me back more times than I can count. But hope, quiet, steady hope, started filling those spaces. I learned that second chances don't always come with fireworks. Sometimes they come with the soft hum of a wrench turning and a neighbor's thank you. And that, my friends, is how I found the courage to begin again. You know, it took me a long while to get here, to this moment where I could finally say it out loud. I'm done carrying that weight. For years, I held on to every bit of hurt, every ounce of regret, like it was a lifeline. But it was really just a chain, dragging me down. I remember one evening, sitting on that porch, watching the sky bleed into twilight, and I knew. I had to make a choice. Carry on drowning in what was lost, or find a way to live free. I took out that old box of letters and papers, the contracts, the bank notices, all the things tied to those days that nearly broke me. I stared at him for a long time, feeling every memory tied up in those sheets. And then, I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked out back where the fire pit was. One by one, I let those papers go. Into the flames they went, crackling and burning, talking with him a piece of my past I didn't need to carry anymore. That night, as the fire died down and the stars blinked awake overhead, I felt something shift inside me. It was like a breath I hadn't known I was holding. All those years finally escaped. I realized then that my past didn't have to define me, that those losses, as hard as they were, didn't have the power to destroy the man I am now. I made a promise to myself to live without bitterness, without blame, without regrets that eat away at the soul. I chose to carry only what's good, the love of Linda, the laughter of the grandkids, the quiet mornings on this porch where stories are still told. It wasn't an easy road, but that moment, that decision, it changed everything. I found peace in letting go, strength in forgiveness, and hope in the days yet to come. I stopped looking back with sorrow and started looking forward with gratitude. So here I am, still working with my hands, still fixing things, but now with a lighter heart. I'm not the man who lost a fortune one night. I'm the man who learned what truly matters when all else falls away. I tell this story not for pity or sorrow, but for the reminder that life goes on, sometimes in ways we never expect, but always with the chance to start anew. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's that you're not your mistakes, you're not your losses. You're the sum of your courage to keep on living. I chose to live on. No regrets, no looking back, just forward, step by step, day by day. You know, I've spent a good many years thinking about what all this loss and gain really meant, not just the money or the things, but the heart of it. I've come to understand something that ain't spoken much, but I reckon it's as true as the Texas sky is wide. Life ain't about the stuff you hold on to, or even the dreams you chase. It's about what you carry inside, the love you give, the people you hold dear, and the courage to keep on walking even when the path gets rough. That's the real wealth. Back when I was younger, I believed hard work alone would keep me safe. I thought if I just did my part, treated folks right, everything else would fall into place. And for a time, maybe it did. But when it all came crashing down, that night I lost the homes, the shop, my pride, I learned a hard truth. You can lose everything you've built, but you can't lose the strength inside you unless you let it go. It's a lesson wrapped in humility and hope. Humility cause you realize you ain't in control of everything. The world's bigger than any one man's plans. And hope, because no matter how deep the fall, there's always a chance to rise, to rebuild, to forgive, to find new meaning. I tell this to you, not from a place of preaching, but from a place of lived truth. Maybe you're carrying burdens, worries, losses that seem too heavy to bear. Maybe you think your story's over before it's really begun. I'm here to tell you it ain't so. Sometimes it takes losing what you thought defined you to find who you really are. And maybe it's time for you, my friend, to stop waiting for the right moment, the perfect fix, or some magic answer. Maybe that moment is here, in the breath you're taking right now, in the choices you make today. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. What matters is that you keep getting back up. I don't regret the nights of hardship, the pain of losing what I loved. They taught me more than any success ever could. They taught me to cherish what can't be taken away: family, friendship, kindness, the quiet moments that fill your soul. That's the real legacy we leave behind. So if there's one thing I want you to carry with you after hearing my story, it's this: you ain't your failures, you ain't your losses. You're the strength you find when you decide to keep on living, loving, and hoping. And that, my friend, is worth more than all the money in the world. Well now, we've been on quite a journey together, haven't we? I hope as you've sat here listening to this old man's tale, you felt a little of what I felt: the weight of loss, the sting of mistakes, but also that quiet, stubborn flicker of hope that never quite dies out. This story, it ain't just about a man who lost his homes and his shop one night. It's about something bigger, about life itself, with all its twists and turns. I want you to know, as much as it's a story of the past, it's just as much about today, about the moments we live now, the choices we make, and the people we hold close. You see, the things that matter don't change. Love, trust, family, they're the bedrock. And sometimes, even when the world seems to take it all away, those things find a way back. I find myself wondering now, after all these years, if some things do come back around. Like real love, does it have a way of finding its way back to you, no matter how far it's wandered? I can't say for sure, but sometimes, just sometimes, when the wind blows soft through the trees here on the porch, I swear I feel our presence. Like Linda's Logan, just beyond the edge of hearing. Like maybe, just maybe, love remembers even when we forget. And that's the question I want to leave you with. Do you believe true love should come back? Should it find its way home, no matter how long or hard the road? Think on that a while. Maybe write it down, or talk about it with someone you trust. Life's full of questions that don't have easy answers. But it's the skin, the feeling, that makes it all worthwhile. Thank you for sitting here with me, for listening to my story. I hope it stirred something in your heart, maybe giving you a little courage to face your own storms. Remember, no matter what you lose, or how dark the night gets, there's always a dawn waiting on the other side. So keep your heart open, keep your hope alive, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find that what's meant for you will find its way back in time.